I'm going to Kansas City. If I could, I could, I could, I could. I'm going to Kansas.
Welcome everybody to another episode of Chopping It Up with the Cleavers. My name is Emmanuel Cleaver III.
And I'm Emil Cleaver.
Check us out. We drop new episodes. You can check us out on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Chopping It Up with the Cleavers. Check us out most places you get your podcast. So a lot's been going on since our last episode. More mass shootings is what we do in this country.
Number one.
Yeah,
number one.
Yes, not something we really want to be number one in, but we are the best in world history when it comes to mass shootings. But another thing, I saw a few reports on increase in violence in school. Kids fighting kids, teachers getting beat up by students. I mean, it's happening all over.
Yeah.
Some incidents here in this part of the world, but all over. Again, that kind of stuff happens in the United States.
Yeah, so we were both watching videos, and I'm sure some of you have seen a lot of them, or some of them. But lately, it seems like teachers, and I watched one just this morning. Willie D posted one on his Instagram, one just this morning. But there are the one this morning he posted the young lady sprayed pepper spray at the male teacher for taking her phone.
Well, it's better. I mean, it's not as bad as that 250-pound student knocking over a substitute.
Yeah. I saw that one. That one was real bad. So yeah, a lot of teachers are getting attacked by students lately, and this is one of the reasons why we have a teacher shortage. This is one of the reasons why teachers are quitting, because you don't get paid enough to do anything like this. I mean, so the one that in particular where kind of got me going, and I'm not going to say the school or the name. I mean, it's out there. You can say it if you want. I don't know if you want to. But there was a teacher arguing with the young lady. It was a substitute teacher. The one that didn't have any underwear on for some reason. And I know those out there don't know what I'm talking about, but it's...
Well, just explain what happened in the video, man.
So in the teacher, the student attacks the teacher. The teacher defends herself, slams the teacher to the ground, and
slams the teacher?
Slams the student to the ground. The student gets slammed to the ground. While she's wrestling, you can clearly see that the substitute teacher doesn't have any underwear on. She doesn't have any underwear on.
Maybe is a female teacher?
Yeah, you didn't see it?
No, I haven't seen it. So maybe she was just in a hurry that morning and needed to.
She's a substitute.
Well, yeah, she got the call. Hey, we need you to substitute. She was like, I don't have any clean underwear, so I need you. That's why you got to wash regularly.
Yeah,
man.
you have to wash regularly.
So I'm gonna have to pull that up. She didn't have any.
Yeah, it was pretty big one.
What was pretty big?
I mean, it spread pretty big. That's why I'm surprised you haven't seen it. It was.
I haven't seen
it. I mean, it was spread pretty big.
Maybe the
but the teacher did win the fight. The teacher did win the fight, and then in the comments you hear people talking about the teacher was wrong, or the student was wrong, and that's kind of what we want to talk about today. What is one of the ones that you saw?
Well, the one that I saw was when the huge student, I forgot where it was, male student, had to be 225 and up, knocked over a substitute for taking their Nintendo, and then once the substitute teacher's on the ground, the student's pounding on her. So it was a male student beating up a female teacher, and the male student was much bigger.
Yeah.
Much bigger.
Didn't the male student, like the teacher was walking away,
Yeah.
and the teacher ran, and the student ran after him and knocked him down? Yeah, football style. So the teacher, this was in North Carolina, a North Carolina substitute teacher. She was arrested because she did, like I said, she did win the fight. She did beat up the student, which I don't think that.
So you
she
saw
should
the
have been
video.
arrested.
Should she have? Was she right?
Yeah, she was right. The student was her size. That's what you had to understand. Yeah, I mean, it was. I don't know how old the student was. I mean, a teenager, but the student was the teacher's size. It wasn't like it was a teacher looking down. They were the matter of fact. The student may have been a little bit bigger. This is a picture of it.
Yeah. Why in the world does she not have?
See, and that's what everybody's wondering. But yeah, that was in North Carolina.
She just let the teachers lounge.
The teacher was arrested.
A party in the teachers lounge.
Maybe, but the teacher was arrested, and I don't feel like the teacher was wrong. A lot of parents, I blame this on the parents.
I was going to ask you, should parents be punished?
Yes. If your teenage student attacks a teacher, and a lot of the ones that I saw, like the one I saw them this morning, where the girls sprayed pepper spray, was because over a phone. The substitute teacher deal was over a phone. So a lot of these are over phones and video
Electronics,
games, things like that. Things that
kids can't live without that stuff.
Yeah.
So you say the parent should be punished or something.
Well, I worked in schools for 6 years, maybe 5 or 6 years, and I say it's if you haven't been in schools, you don't understand. And I'm gonna say you don't understand because you probably haven't been in schools. It's not how it was when we were in school. It is a different culture. It's a different way. I mean, it's almost like you don't want to get the students too upset. You want to pacify them to a certain extent. But a lot of the parents, I mean, you say something to the kids, and the parents, and the first thing you hear the kids say, well, my mama said I ain't got to listen to nobody up here.
Yeah, no, the semester I was working in the Kansas City, Missouri school district, I heard that over and over again. It even called some parents like, hey, your son is acting up. And that mother was like, well, that's your problem. He's at school.
Yeah.
He's my problem at home.
And somebody I know just stopped working with the school district because of that same reason, because the parents didn't back him up. I mean,
if the parents don't back it, there's nothing really the teacher can do.
Nothing.
Absolutely nothing at all.
I mean, because you can't hit the kid, and you can't even keep him out of class because of this No Child Left Behind deal. You had to keep him in the class, and that's another thing that hurts. I mean, I remember I'm in a school. I'm not going to say the school, but kids are throwing desks, and you had to kick them out of the class, and a few minutes the administrator brings him back and says, about 5 minutes later, he's willing to do better. He's going to apologize. Well, 5 minutes ago, he was throwing a desk. And now you're saying he's ready to come back in class. I don't think he is. I mean, you can't keep him out of class because if they feel like if they're not in class, they're not learning. So you have to keep them in class. But the deal is, if you're keeping them in class, they're preventing other people from learning. I had another class where there was a girl there, extremely disruptive, had a group of girls following her. When that girl missed days in school, I was happy. I'm not even gonna lie. All those other girls behaved. I mean, when she was there, they're acting like Pinky Custodero's gang or some woman gang. But as soon as that lead girl is not there, the other girls fall in place. Yes, sir. I mean, they're Mr. Cleaver and all this. But as soon as she comes back, it's a whole new story. So I know for a fact you got to keep these kids. They disrupt the whole class.
Well, it just shows that girl has some leadership skills. She needs to be directed in the right direction.
Needs to be honed in the right way. But
Now you say schools are like that. It depends on what school.
Yeah, I guess so.
Depends on what school.
I guess so.
Because for a lot of students, the threat is why they don't want to get in trouble because they don't want you to call their parents. So there are some schools school districts where a threat of calling one's parents is all that's needed. There are some schools where a threat to calling parents means absolutely nothing because they know parent isn't going to do anything.
I worked at a lot of those schools, unfortunately.
I only did one. It only took me a semester to be like, hey, I mean, if you can't choke the kids, which I'm not advocating for, I mean, what can you do? There's absolutely nothing that can be done. So if it means that the parents need to step up, then okay, when your child is misbehaving or when your child beats up a teacher,
Which I've seen.
then yeah, you said a student beat up a security guard.
Yeah, dropped him. Dropped him. Security guard didn't have gun or anything, obviously.
No pepper spray, no.
Yeah, I mean, he did, but I mean, he didn't. I guess he wasn't
didn't have
expecting
time.
it. Yeah, he didn't.
Well, I guess, I mean, it depends on where you go. You don't
I mean, what would you
expect
do if
students
you're in
to
a class?
swing on you.
You're in a classroom and you have a 6'2", 15-year-old coming at you talking about, man, give me back my phone or I ain't gonna listen to you no more. And he's coming walking at
You
you.
got to give it to him.
Give him his phone.
Yeah, you have to. Or what else you going to do? You're either going to do that or fight.
Okay, so what you say you don't have a phone. Say he's like, man, I'm not listening to you. Don't say nothing else to me. And he's walking towards you.
He's walking toward me. I'm like, hey, don't walk toward
He
me.
slaps your hand away. Then he slaps you in your face, slaps you in your mouth. Then what you gonna do? Because that's what's happening. I'm not good. It's not far fetched. That's what's happening. So then he slaps you in your mouth. Then what?
Well, see, yeah. I mean, you don't learn that in school, what to do when a
I
student
know. I
slaps
know
you.
you don't.
But when you talking about somebody 6'2",
Yes.
so you're talking about a large person.
Yes.
I mean, at some point, I have to defend myself.
Okay. And that's what a lot of in a lot of these situations are. I mean, I saw a male substitute teacher give another male student what he asked for.
What did he have?
the male student was getting in his face, man, and telling the man, disrespecting this man, and then he pushed him, and when he pushed him, the teacher had enough, and he slammed the teacher to the ground, and students was like, y'all just gonna sit here and let him do
So now,
just gonna sit here and let him do this to me?
once he got slammed, he wasn't as tough.
Nah, he wasn't as
But
tough.
what happened to that teacher?
I don't remember. I didn't read up on it. A lot of this stuff you just see on the on social media, but you don't see the follow up. I'm sure he was arrested, but
Yeah, now you're not gonna have people, because if you got students. So when I was in the school district, I was with fifth graders, so they were 10 and 11, but there was one who was just as big as me. I mean, he was probably, in terms of weight, he was probably bigger. So, I mean, if he came toward me, I mean, I'd have to think, hey, is he going to take me out, or I need to dot his I?
I mean, at least grab him and.
Yeah. But that's for me. For if it were a female student or teacher, or even a smaller male student, grabbing is not an option. If they're bigger and stronger than you, grabbing's not going to do anything except get you taken to the ground.
Yeah.
So what's the solution? I mean, it does boil down to the parents have to take some responsibility and have to be punished.
That's what needs to be happening. Because most of the fights that I'm seeing are female students.
Yeah, man, these females.
Yeah, in Texas, there's a few in Texas, but a lot of them are female students. And I think that, I don't know if you have a teenage student. I mean, I could see if it's maybe an 8-year-old hitting the teacher. No, I mean that's not right. But a teenage student, which it seems to be in a lot of cases, there has to be some type of punishment.
Well, it seems like if Republican lawmakers would focus on what to do about school violence and teachers getting beat up and students fighting each other, they spent time on that instead of what can or cannot be taught, then maybe we'd have a solution to this. But they want to talk about what books you can or cannot read and what needs to be banned from the library, and you can't call them a slave. You got to call them field workers or whatever you call them. They focused on the real problem, let teachers teach. Back in the day, they had corporal punishment.
Yeah.
that wouldn't work at all today.
Nah.
Especially when you got schools that don't have metal detectors. But yeah, I think lawmakers really have to step in. It's a state issue. So states need to step up, just like they're stepping up with, you can't teach that, black people were discriminated against. You need to focus on, hey, how do we get teachers from getting beat down? That's a problem.
I mean, well, if you're listening to some of these conservative lawmakers, they're saying give the teacher a gun.
Yeah. I don't know how some people get elected, because that seems like something that someone who has no intellectual capacity would say. Because a teacher that's getting harassed by a student that has a gun have a bad day. I mean, it just sounds bad.
Well, you don't have to take a mental aptitude test to
not in
to
Missouri
run for any political office.
No.
Do you have to
you
do
should.
it nationwide? You said not in Missouri. I mean,
No, I thought you were going to talk about you don't have to have an aptitude test to get a gun.
I'm talking about to be a lawmaker.
No, because
I mean,
that would disqualify a lot.
You had to be a certain age and born in America. That's about it.
So lawmakers, we really do need to. I mean, we're going to lose more and more teachers unless something is done.
You're going to lose a lot of school workers, period. Cafeteria workers, bus drivers. I know someone who was a bus driver who doesn't do that anymore. I mean, it's just, this no child left behind I think is a bad deal from.
Well, maybe the concept of no child left behind is correct.
Yeah, the concept,
but
is,
how?
But how it's being done is not working.
Yeah, I mean, school cafeteria workers. You give somebody, hey, I don't want mashed potatoes, and they ready to fight.
Yeah,
I want more chicken nuggets or whatever they have.
Yeah, you think they don't have issues?
Yeah,
please,
man, it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean,
pray for all of our teachers, man.
Yeah, they need a raise. We're gonna lose them.
Yeah, and lawmakers to step up and do something. Speaking of lawmakers, a new Uncle Ruckus has emerged out of North Carolina. The Lieutenant Governor of North Carolina, his name is Mark Robinson, implied that black people should not get reparations, but instead black people ought to pay.
He's running for governor, right?
He's running for governor. He's the Lieutenant Governor. First Negro Lieutenant Governor of North Carolina. He's running for governor. And the sad thing is, he's ahead in the polls right now. And this dude, so not only does he say black people should pay for
think
being
about it, man. I think you're brushing over that. I don't think people are understanding
how serious that is.
Because I think people are saying that. I think you misspoke when you said that.
No, I'm
black
not.
Man is saying that.
Look it up. His name is Mark Robinson. And he said, he gives this long, drawn-out thing. No, we shouldn't be giving reparations. Instead, we ought to be paying. We ought to be thankful
this is
that
real.
we were captured.
This is not a
and brought
Boondocks
over
episode.
here. So, but let me tell you why else this guy has some serious problems. And from what I understand, Mark Robinson, he's a fan of the show. So, Mark, listen.
Just like Herschel.
He's a Republican, so he is anti-abortion. I'm not going to say pro-life. But he's anti-abortion, yet he paid for his wife before they got married to get an abortion. He said transgender people are demonic, gay people are filth, Muslim Americans are invaders, Jewish financiers are modern-day four horsemen of the apocalypse.
Man, calm down, bud.
This is what a man who is the Lieutenant Governor of North Carolina has said. And this man is running for governor of North Carolina.
But yeah, so he that to me that says a lot about North Carolina.
Well, yeah, a whole lot. What do you say to somebody like that, man?
I don't even think you can say anything. I mean, I think first of all he needs to maybe check into a mental institution.
That's obvious.
But when I saw the speech, and there is a speech of him saying this, that black people owe for reparations. I mean, he literally says this, that black people owe for reparations. White people don't owe us. Yeah. We owe them. And his explanation didn't even make sense, so I don't even know if I can repeat it.
He's not very intelligent if you listen to him. But, I mean, you knew that from the statement.
Yeah.
He's just happy. Oh, well, I'm just happy to be here, Massa. Thank you for bringing me. Thank you for putting me in chains.
He's not like Herschel Walker.
Meaning what? That you can understand his words?
Right, meaning that he's not illiterate. He can put sentences together, paragraphs, so that he's a little bit more dangerous than Herschel.
But he's not a good thinker either.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's pretty obvious. But I'm just saying, Herschel Walker, where he's talking about stealing air, this man at least, has a little bit more sense. But I don't know what it is now. It seems like in 2023 and since 2010, seems like there are more and more. What's the word should I use for these people? Coons. There are more and more coons. I guess letting themselves, exposing themselves nowadays. Do you think that it's just because of social media, or do you think there's always been a large population of Uncle Toms and Uncle Ruckuses?
Yeah, I don't have any statistics, but I have to believe. I think it's more today, and
I would think so.
I'm just going off a hunch, but I think here's what it is: if you're black and you're willing to stand up and say you hate other black people, you're going to be given a platform. You're going to be given a show,
off top,
a podcast. You'll be elected lieutenant governor. I mean, if you are black and you are anti-black, people are going to listen.
And that just reminds me of something Stephen Smith said the other week. He was talking about Trump. Did you see that? And he said he didn't believe Trump was racist. He and Trump are friends.
Stephen A. Smith?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
He said that they were friends, and he doesn't believe that Trump is racist. He doesn't know why he says those things. He says those things, Stephen, because he's racist.
He said he doesn't know why he says racist things.
Yeah. You didn't see that interview? It was kind of a big deal. Willie D talked about, Willie D going to talk about it. But yeah, yeah, they talked about it. He said, I think Roland Martin even talked about it. Just because he's friends with you and he's nice to you, that doesn't, expunge everything that he said and done. I mean, he was sued several times for not letting black people live in his filthy apartments.
Yeah, I mean, that's real. I mean, he has had several discrimination lawsuits.
So but for a black man to get on television.
Well, who listens to Stephen A. Smith?
A lot of people.
I know, but who's his primary audience? I know you probably don't know.
Yeah, I do know. Obviously, I know.
Because maybe it's probably Trump's followers.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, seeing that, yeah. Well, that's the shame. I mean, people like him and this new Uncle Ruckus, they've been given a platform. I mean, if you say things like that, you get a platform. I don't know. I don't understand. I don't get it. Candace Owens, Herschel Walker, who should have never been handed a microphone in his life.
That's unbelievable.
But I mean, these Tim Scott, I think he's ridiculously thinking about running for president. Even his own party isn't going to vote for him.
Yeah, come on, Tim.
You have Uncle Clarence Thomas, he and his wife, who are bought. I mean, this billionaire bought Clarence Thomas. He owns Clarence Thomas.
So
you think just because Clarence Thomas is rich, he's not owned by somebody? He's owned. This man owns him. So let me ask you this, if you don't think that he owns him. He gave him all these gifts worth $1 billion. You don't think he wants anything in return?
Yeah, I'm not sure who you're talking about. I haven't read on this. But
you haven't read about Clarence Thomas? What's this billionaire's name who's been giving him all these lavish gifts and he hasn't reported it? He hasn't reported any of it.
Well, it would make sense. I mean, I understand Clarence Thomas has not liked black people for a long time. But no. But yeah, that would explain a lot. That would explain a lot.
Yeah, I mean his benefactor has it owns him. I mean he owns him.
Does he get to live in the house or does he live out in the field?
Everything that he's done for this man is Harlan Crow. I couldn't think of his name. Harlan Crow, the billionaire. So I mean, he pays for his grand nephew's college. He's given.
And so, why does it say this man has given him stuff?
Well, it's out. I mean, it's not.
No. But why has he given it to him?
Well, he says he believes that Clarence Thomas is a great man, one of the greatest Americans, and their friends, and all of that. That's what he says. But I mean, they've given him private jets, and they've gone like what they call island hopping, literally, where they take this jet and they just go to different islands on his ship, on his yacht, and everything.
Did this man introduce Clarence to his wife?
I don't know.
There's a movie about that.
Oh, he is?
Oh. Yeah, the one we wrote.
Oh, yeah.
So I was wondering if he showed Clarence Thomas, how to be a conservative racist.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he did, but this man he owns Clarence Thomas.
Man, Clarence, I didn't know you were a slave. I mean, I knew you were, had some issues, but I didn't know he was an actual, a real life, modern day slave. Yeah,
his name is Harlan Crow. I mean, I'm sure some of you listening and watching have heard about this deal. But yeah, literally almost, he owns Clarence Thomas.
Here's what I would say to anybody who, I guess, supports someone like Mark Robinson, and that is, if Mark Robinson is willing to turn on his own family, then, I mean, he could possibly turn on you as well. That it's obvious that I'm guessing he's in for the money, but the fact that he hates black people.
I mean, he just hates everybody. He shows out for the Republicans. I mean, there's something of him. He's mocking shooting survivors, because as a lot of Republicans, after there's a massacre and dozens of people die, the NRA has a rally and Republicans dance at the rally, and they do a snake oil dance, and I guess this guy he wants the NRA to give him money, so that's how you do it. You mock people who were killed by guns.
Man, come on, Mark, come on the show so we can interview him. First question I'm gonna ask: what happened in your childhood that caused you to hate black people?
Yeah,
I mean, something happened.
Yeah,
I think I have a good idea.
What do you think?
What happened to not to Mark Robinson, but to what's his name, the racist sports person?
Steven?
No, the other one.
Oh, you talking about Jason?
Jason, yeah. I think I know what happened to him, and it's happened somewhere in college when he had to sit the bench, and he got mad at the other black athletes that were getting all the play around town. And so I think that's what led to his hatred of especially world-class athletes. He despises them to the utmost. He really doesn't like black people, but if you're black and a world-class athlete, I mean, you're in his crosshairs. But maybe we'll do a study one day on how black people become anti-black.
Yeah, how they hate other blacks.
Something happened.
We know how it is and how it was in slavery. I mean, master lets him sleep in the big house. You sleep in the big house, and
Well, maybe that's what it is. But speaking of reparations, so on Dr. Phil's show, he had a show about reparations. And so he had an economics professor from Duke, Dr. William Darity, who suggested it would take $14 trillion for reparations, and that each black person who had an enslaved ancestor would receive $350,000 each. Dr. Phil was against it because he said it would be a disaster. he said in 6 weeks, those same people would be broke. And he tried to justify it. He said it doesn't matter if they're black, white, or whatever, but in 6 weeks, they'd be broke. So it'd be a disaster. And this is what I want to say to Dr. Phil, who's also a big fan of the show.
Yep.
Dr. Phil, it's not your job to parent. I mean, if money is owed, it's just like saying, I'm not going to pay my employees this much money because they'll waste it. It's not your job to tell them what to spend the money on. They waste it, they waste it. Your job is to give them money. The United States government owes this money.
Dr. Phil,
doesn't matter what you think.
You showed us who you are.
What you think is
Showed us who
irrelevant,
you are.
Dr. Phil, if that's who you really are.
You don't study it anymore. You're on television. You have people around you that, well, anyway. Yeah, Dr. Phil, okay, so, yeah, no reparations for black people. Obviously there was Dave Chappelle made a comedy skit about that. And yeah, you're right, a lot of people would lose that money immediately. But some people wouldn't. A lot of people wouldn't. A lot of people would make a real big come up off that. A lot of black people would make a real big come up off that. So, that's, you showed us who you are, Dr. Phil.
Yeah, it ain't your job to tell. So what?
Yeah.
It's not your job. Mind your business.
Yeah, man.
Mind your business.
Your show's still on the air, damn.
I think he's coming off, but I think it was all in an effort. I think he was trying to, I guess, be on the side of black people, but all that was heard was it would be a disaster. So his thing was, don't give them money, teach them, put them in opportunities, give them situations where they can grow and acquire wealth. Yeah. Well, you know how that's done, Dr. Phil? Yeah, by giving some money. Okay, you're going to teach me. So the reward for him, for black people, being enslaved in this country and the descendants of those slaved, for him the reward is for black people to have to go to a class.
You dummy.
That's the class. And go to a class and we're going to teach you how to use it. But we're not going to give you the money.
We're going to give it to the teachers.
We're just going to teach you, right, because somebody's got to get paid.
Everybody else has gotten reparations. Native Americans, I'm not saying it was what they deserved, but they got some form of reparation. Japanese Americans specifically, after World War, one or two? They got reparations because Japanese Americans were put into concentration camps in America. They got some form of reparations. So everybody got some reparations except us. Dr. Phil,
I'm hoping he's not on the committee.
Man, I hope not.
Well, I know he's not, but yeah, Dr. Phil, I just disagree. You should have talked to some folk. Should have talked to Oprah or somebody first before you said that. Yeah. Because that just sounded like you're judge and jury. You get to determine. Well, they're not going to use it right, so they don't get mass. You don't tell me. I can use it however I want.
Dr. Phil, you're on the list.
We're watching you now.
At the show.
Yeah, don't. If you come up again, then you get a song written about you or something.
It's going to be bad.
Something. So I guess just a lot of talk about reparations. A black man says that black people should pay, and then Dr. Phil says you ought to go to a class. You ought to go to a 17-week class. He didn't say how long it was, but man, just think about that.
17-week, please.
Your reward, or what we're going to give you for your ancestors being enslaved, is for you to have to go to school, take a class.
Dummy.
Come on, man. And I didn't even watch all of it to see how his black guests responded. Now, the professor at Duke, who came up with this concept, 14 trillion, he disagreed, of course, with Dr. Phil. But the other black panelists, I didn't stay on.
I'm sure they want that 14 trillion. $350,000 would go a long way for me.
Let me ask everybody: would you rather take a class on how to gain wealth, or would you rather be given $350,000?
Yeah, it's a rhetorical question because
of course,
I'm sure everybody out there will take that money.
Yeah, I know I could do a whole lot with it. The other thing is we're moving on to our top 5 list. NBA playoffs
Going on
right now.
Lakers, LeBron. I shouldn't say Lakers and Golden State. I should say more LeBron and Steph Curry. I mean, that's become a great rivalry.
Yeah, man. Steph Curry, man. I mean, no, he's one of the best point guards of all time.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody who was saying maybe it's time to start talking about him as being one of the best ever.
The best?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you can
That's
start
what they're
having
saying,
that conversation. I think because I think most basketball heads would have Magic as the best point guard of all time. But I do believe as well it's time to, is Magic really the best? Can you put Steph in there? Now you can make arguments for both.
Yeah.
One argument for Steph, you could say, well, he didn't have Kareem. I mean, that Kareem is the eliminator. Shots running down, clock's running down. No, nothing. I'll just give it to Kareem. He has an unstoppable shot. Steph doesn't have that, but you can also say Magic. He can rebound and pass better, and you can make the argument. But man, nobody can shoot like Steph. No. But anyway, NBA playoffs going on, so we thought we'd do the top 5 coaches, best NBA. I'm assuming NBA coaches. You just said, okay, best NBA coaches of all time. Who's going first?
I'll go first. So I'm going to go ahead and put number 5. I have Steve Kerr. Be quiet, Bucky.
Yeah, Steve, you can put him in there.
Steve Kerr, what he's doing with Bucky. Calm down. That's my dog in the background. He barks at everything. What he's doing with Golden State is, kind of phenomenal. He's going on an incredible run. With that team. So, yeah, Steve Kerr, he was a great player, won 3 rings with the Bulls, and then I think he won another ring when he left the Bulls. San Antonio, yeah. So, had a great playing career and even a better coaching career. Number 4, I'm going to go ahead and give it to Pat Riley. Pat Riley with the Lakers, early 80s, and then what he did with Miami. He won a title in Miami. But he wasn't the coach in Miami when they won. He was the GM, wasn't
GM.
He? Yeah. But, he what he did with the Lakers, Magic, Kareem, Showtime. He brought that Showtime style to the Lakers. Old Pat Riley, got to give him number 4. Number 3, I'm going to go with the Popovich, Greg Popovich. Seems like a great individual, human being overall. Yeah. Just a great person, but he's also a great coach, probably because, his players trust him, and he cares about his players, which is, rare in sports at any level. But yeah, what he did in San Antonio all these years, he has to be the longest reigning coach in the NBA, I would guess.
Sloan from Utah was there for a while. Yeah. I don't know, but yeah, it's close.
I'm talking about current, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, what he's done in San Antonio, all those great teams, still doing great things. Number 2, I'm gonna go ahead, and this is the tricky one. I'm gonna have, because a lot of people would have this is number 1, but I'm gonna put Phil Jackson number 2.
Yeah.
The Bulls, obviously 6 rings with the Bulls, and then 4 with the Lakers. I would have to give Phil number 2. The reason he doesn't get number 1 is because he's had, 3 of the greatest players of all time, which helps out a lot. I don't want to take everything away because he was the coach, but he did have Michael Jordan. He did have Kobe Bryant. He did have Shaquille O'Neal. These were 3 game changers. Yeah. And then, so you got to put that in there. Number 1, I guess maybe younger people wouldn't know, but a lot of older people should know, Red Auerbach. What he did with the dynasty in Boston, won 8 straight titles.
Crazy.
Crazy feat. They won because of coaching back then. It really was coaching. Yeah, they did have incredible talent. There's incredible talent in the league, but it was the coaching that won. It was the system that they had that won it. So that's my top 5.
Mine is similar, very similar, except number 5. So my number 5, I thought about Steve Kerr, but I'm gonna tell you why Steve Kerr, although he's on the honorable mention, I didn't put him there because the foundation for Golden State was laid by Mark Jackson.
Yeah.
And Mark Jackson doesn't get enough credit.
Well, I mean, you can go through history and there's been situations like that.
No, you're
and
right.
Those people never get the credit. They never get the credit.
Yeah, but I lift up Mark Jackson because one, it's somewhat recent, but it was also obvious.
Yeah,
it was obvious.
And a lot of the players said that after they won that first title, that Mark, they thanked Mark Jackson for putting that team together.
Right. So he gets a lot of credit. So I do have Steve Kerr honorable mention, but instead of him at number 5, I have Lenny Wilkins, who's the all-time leader in wins for coaches in the NBA.
Good old Lenny.
Has won one ring, but he's all-time leader. And, I also look at, was the league more competitive than it is now? I mean, that's all up for debate. But Lenny Wilkins, number 5, all-time leader.
I mean, is it up for debate?
That it's more competitive. Well, so I'm assuming you're saying that it's not as competitive today. So I think there are some years. Well, it's been like that for a while. Like in the '80s, you knew who the playoff teams were going to be. You knew who they were going to be in the East. No, let's say the '90s. You knew Indiana was going to be there. You knew Miami, New York, Chicago. In the West, you knew Utah, Sacramento, Lakers. Today, I don't know. I think there are powerhouse teams, and it seems like the rest of the league is way behind.
Yeah, maybe that's the case.
Yes, there are several good teams, but a lot of teams can't even compete with these teams because they're super teams. So I Lenny Wilkins, number 5. Number 4, I have Pat Riley. Same thing, what he did for the Lakers. Number 3, Greg Popovich, San Antonio, same thing. So my list is the same after that. Phil Jackson, number 2, Red Auerbach. Red Auerbach did something that was genius. He drafted Larry Bird before Larry Bird came out of the draft. That's a sign of somebody who knows talent. So he drafted Larry Bird. People thought he was crazy, but Larry Bird wasn't in the draft. He wasn't coming out. So that next year when Bird did come out, the Celtics had already drafted him and could get another draft pick. He knew Larry Bird was going to be that good. I mean, just think about that.
He did that.
Yes, Larry Bird played a whole other year of college. Red Auerbach, I mean, that's genius.
Yeah, that is.
That's somebody who can spot talent.
And then they won the title not too long after he got there.
What is like first or second year?
Yeah.
So he knew what he was doing. That alone, man, would put Red Auerbach on the list.
Yeah, basketball mind.
He knew the game of basketball. So that's my list. I have some honorable mentions, as I said, Steve Kerr. I'm going to put Larry Brown. Larry Brown won a college championship and an NBA championship. Yeah. Chuck Daly, those bad boy teams were pretty tough. And I'm thinking Jerry Sloan. I mean, with Utah, they were always good, but they never won. Would you put him on the list?
I would put him on there. I would put him on there.
Because he ran up against some tough teams. They had to deal with the Lakers in the West, and then when they do make it, they have to deal with the Bulls.
Yeah, I would put him on there. I would go ahead and put him on there. He was a good coach. He's good,
He had him there every year. Any other honorable mention coaches you put?
Local Tyronn Lue. I mean, he won a title. I guess he's not coaching right now, though, but I'm sure he'll get back in there the way things work. He'll be coaching sooner or later.
Time. So that's our list. Let us know what coaches, and maybe we if you can think of coaches that were more like Mark Jackson, may have gotten a team right there to the pinnacle, but then never got a chance to take them over to the promised land, had to hand it over. Because there are some others like Mark Jackson that had similar situations. Yeah. Then there's some that, like Jerry Sloan, they were good every single year.
Yeah, and couldn't quite win it.
Couldn't get it because they ran into not some good teams, some great teams. And that happens. So let us know what you think. Check us out. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Chopping It Up with the Cleavers. Check us out most places you get your podcast.
Peace.
See you next time.
I'm of the modest. Here I am. I come. That's where I'm from. Yeah.